This is the Happy Families podcast with Dr Justin Coulson. We are Luke and Susie, and this is the podcast for time-poor parents who just want answers now.
Justin, I recently had one of those days with the kids. And when I went to school, I found out that every other mum in my class, it seemed, also had one of those days on the same day, where it was all we could say was do something and all the kids could say was no. And it just seemed like there was this butting heads that was happening between parent and child across the city. It was just a universal principle for that day. But those days happen.
Yeah.
How do we as parents survive them? And how do our children thrive in them?
I'm feeling your pain because with 6 kids, you can bet your boots that on any given morning,
Statistically more likely.
Yes.
it's going to happen. And oh boy, it's tough. Look, I don't think, if I can actually be a little bit straight, I don't think that there's a one-size-fits-all answer here. So I'm going to give you a bunch of ideas, and on some days, they'll be the worst idea you could ever get.
Yeah.
And on other days, it could just be your saving grace. Case in point, one of my kids yesterday, she woke up and from the minute she opened her eyes, and she needed a bit of help to even do that, I literally had my hands on her face, just gently opening those eyelids. From that moment, I knew that it was going to be one of those mornings with her. And it was bedlam. I mean, it was just horrible. She was angry and cruel and all that sort of stuff. Even parenting experts have kids who are like that from time to time. And as it turns out, my wife and I, Kylie and I, looked at each other and said, she can have a day off today. And she can just help around the house. She can go back to bed. She can have a bit of a sleep, and we'll just deal with it. We're in a fortunate situation where I work from home, and I know not everybody can do this. And my wife Kylie, well, we've got 6 kids, so we can't afford for her to go out and get a job because we need her to work at home, and so we were able to deal with that. We had another situation recently where one of the kids, again, one of those mornings, and we looked at the clock, we looked at what our schedule was going to allow, and it was a pretty tight and nasty schedule, but things were so bad that we just said to her, you know what, why don't you just go and hop back into bed and you can come back out when you're ready. Just you go and read a book, make yourself comfortable, you're not in trouble. We're under deadlines, but we'll work it out. Because you do, as a parent, you just kind of work it out. You get flexible and fix stuff. And she went to bed and she suddenly had this sense that she had choice in her life. And so once she realized that we weren't making her do anything, she actually got out of bed about 15 minutes later. And next thing you know, she's in the living room with her school uniform on, her shoes and socks done up, hair brushed, teeth done, and she was like, I'm ready to go to school now.
Wow.
I think sometimes we put too much pressure on the kids and on ourselves, and we make things really hard for ourselves.
But right there in those moments, you gave permission for them to do something that's not supposed to happen, Justin. My
breaking
head
the
is
rules.
ready to explode.
Breaking the rules. And I guess this is where we've got to think, well, what matters most here? Do I have to, if you've got to catch an aeroplane, if you've got to be somewhere at a certain time and there's no flex, then sometimes you just got to grab them by the collar and say, let's go. It's on. I'm sorry. I wish I wasn't doing this to you, but we've just got to go. But quite often we make emergencies when they don't really exist.
True.
I had an incident with one of my kids years and years and years ago. It's probably my favourite story to tell. It's about a bag.
Well, let's catch that full story in just a moment, Justin, as we catch up with Dr Justin Coulson on the whole topic of when you're having one of those days, more shortly.
Dr Justin Coulson is one of Australia's most respected parenting voices. His seminars have equipped and empowered thousands of parents to make their families happier. But sometimes getting to a parenting seminar can be tough. There's work and other commitments. Then there's the issue of the children and babysitters. Now you can watch one of Dr. Justin's seminars from the comfort of your own home and at a time that works for you. Sit in on one of Dr. Justin's parenting seminars as he takes you from confusion to clarity. You'll learn how to build a strong connection with your children, how to really understand them, and how to get discipline right. What your child needs from you. A seminar from Dr. Justin Coulson. Download this 90-minute seminar now or purchase the DVD at happyfamilies.com.au.
You're with the Happy Families podcast with Dr Justin Coulson as we talk about what happens when you're having one of those days. And you've promised us one of your favourite stories about one of those days, Dr Justin.
On this particular morning, in our home, I get the kids' lunches and breakfasts. Well, actually, they're big enough to do most of it themselves now, but I guide the process and oversee it, and I get myself organised as well because I need a bit of time too. And Kylie, she sort of works on the bedrooms and she works on the kids' uniforms and hair and all that sort of stuff. Once again, the kids are old enough to do this stuff themselves, but we guide the process. This particular morning, Ella was sitting on the couch, hair everywhere, morning breath that you could smell 2 rooms away. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
And when I said to her, hey, what would you like for breakfast? Let me help you. You look like you're having a rough morning. She just stared straight ahead, didn't answer. So I walked over, sat beside her, put my arm around her, and I said, hey, I'm here to help. Let me get you some breakfast. What would you like? And she just looked at me and nearly made me pass out with the breath. And she said, I'm not going to school today. And I said, well, let's not worry about school right now. Let's just worry about breakfast. How can I help you? And she said, I'm not going to school today. She was so serious about it. So I took a big, deep breath and I said, well, it sounds like you'd really like to stay at home. Would you like to tell me why you don't want to go to school? She basically said, I don't want to go to school because I need a new school bag. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me have a look at the bag. I looked at the bag. Nothing seemed to be wrong with it. I thought, she just needs some time. I'll give her some time. I looked after everyone else. Then I looked at the clock, had heart failure, called out to Kylie, honey, I've got to go catch an aeroplane. I've got to fly to Brisbane. We were living in Wollongong at the time. I said, I've got to fly to Brisbane. I've got to go and make some other people's families happy. I'll see you tomorrow. Ella doesn't want to go to school till she's got a new school bag. She doesn't need a new school bag. We're not buying a new bag. See if you can understand what's going on. Good luck. Goodbye.
Excellent. Good.
And off I went. But I got a call from...
And that's the end of this topic.
Well, here's the really important thing. I got a call from Kylie a little bit later, and she said to me, I'd just gone through airport security. She said, it's a couple of minutes to 9. Ella is on the couch. She's upset. We're not getting anywhere. What do I do? And Kylie had somewhere to be. But it was one of those things where she could probably be 20 minutes late if she had to be. It was not good, but she could get away with it. Yeah. And I said, the school would rather that she shows up 15 minutes late and happy than 2 minutes early and crying. Yeah. So sit with her and try to really understand. Kylie sat with her, long story very short, finally started to make some progress. What's going on? I want a new bag. Why do you want a new bag? There's nothing the matter with the bag. Kylie went and opened the bag, by the way, and she found something that I'd missed. It was something that was once food. We didn't know what food it had been. Yeah. So she cleaned it out. She fumigated it. She nearly incinerated the bag. It was that bad. But she got it clean and smelling nice and packed it up and said, Ella, you don't need a new bag. You can take this bag to school. Ella would not budge until finally Kylie said, I can't help you if you don't tell me why you need a new bag. And at that point, Ella said, I need a new bag because I don't have any friends. And Kylie said, well, that's awful. You know, she gave her a big hug and she said, I don't understand, though. Why do you need a new school bag if you don't have any friends? And at that point, Ella, in her little 6 or 7-year-old brain, explained, if we go to the shops, I can buy a really cool bag. And when I walk into the playground, all of the kids will see it and I'll be popular because they'll want to talk to me because my bag is so cool. See, form follows feelings. If we just concentrate on the behaviour, the form, and we ignore the feelings, we miss out on what's actually going on in their lives. They're only misbehaving, they're only being challenging because there's something wrong. And it's our job to be really careful investigators and get to the bottom of it so that we can help them to feel better, because when they feel better, we just don't have those mornings.
Yeah, that's true.
It almost breaks my heart. I'm almost teary at the thought of us. But the 6-year-olds deal with those pressures. But we as adults have days like that.
Yes.
Yeah, we do. You know, I know we're out of time, but really, really quickly, that morning I was so close to saying, hey, let me kick your bum. You're off to school. Don't be silly. Parenting expert at his best, right?
Yeah.
And had I done that, she would have gone to school to a place where she felt like she had no friends and no one cared and no one understood, knowing that afternoon she was going to have to return home to a place where she had no friends, no one cared, and no one understood.
And still with something in her bag that could not be identified.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dr. Justin Coulson, we've learned so much.
Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. And don't forget, if you want some more information on any topic to do with parenting, and we know it's such a broad spectrum, there's some incredible resources that Justin has created. There's books, there's podcasts, there's programs. You can find them all at happyfamilies.com.au, or you can even have him come and speak at your school or an organisation where you can meet him face to face and maybe even ask some of those questions that you have, like mine. What do you do on a bad day? JustinCoulson.com is where you can find out more about that.
I'm not sure. We'll have to check with Justin. Is your wife available? Because if they want the topics on how to check your kids' school bags, we might need her.
Sometimes I think she's much wiser than me.